Hi everyone, good day, and I'm back, and Sir Cook's here again. Welcome to our first topic for this week. Since we are in a modular approach, uh, everything that I will be discussing is already covered for the duration of the week. Okay, so today for this week, we have a very interesting topic. We will start with our lesson number one, all right, for this semester. And we have a very, meaty discussion today as I will be walking you through information systems, okay? So we will be looking at the perspective. So it's not really heavy on the theoretical aspect of the subject, but rather I will be introducing you to some terms, technicalities. I'll be walking you through in a general sense of what information systems is all about and what you will be expecting within the next several weeks of our meeting. Okay, that's why our discussion this morning is only centered on perspectives. Okay, how we will be looking at information system from our end, okay, as learners of information systems. I have divided our discussion into five topics, or shall I say subtopics, okay? First, we will be talking about an introduction to information systems. In this topic, we'll be discussing what data is, what is information, what's the essence of data and information, how they are related to the entire aspect of information systems. And then we'll be looking at how we can convert this data into useful information and what makes a quality information. We will be also looking at the characteristics of quality information. Then we will be also talking about information systems. There are many kinds of information systems, and I'll introduce you to some of them, okay, today. But we'll be seeing more of them as we discuss our topic on information systems. Then we will be talking about your roles when you become future IS managers. What are the things that an IS manager should have as a basic skill, okay, to become an information systems manager? And then we'll be looking at different information systems that we can find in different business organizations, okay? Then the second topic that we will be talking about is the infrastructure of information systems. What's the technology behind information systems, and what are the different infrastructure concepts that we can find in information systems? On the third part, we will be talking about business information systems. These are the information systems that you can find in different business processes. Okay, so like we'll be talking about what e-commerce is. We'll be talking about what m-commerce is, right? Then we'll be talking about what is MIS, and then we'll be talking about what is ERP. Okay, so these are just a few of those information systems that we can find in different business practices or processes. Then on the fourth part, we will be also discussing how planning, how acquiring, and building information systems can help make the business move forward or give the business a competitive advantage. So this involves strategic planning, project management, and system acquisition. Okay, so that's the fourth one. The fifth topic that we'll be discussing in this video lecture is about information systems in society. Okay, what are some of the information systems issues that we can find in not only happening in the business, but its effect and how it affects our society in general. And then, of course, we'll be talking a little bit about cybercrime. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are just mind you, this is just part one of the entire topic that we'll be discussing in the fundamentals of information systems. And all of these things will be covered in this video. Okay, so I hope that I have whetted your appetite for learning, and I guess you are ready for our discussion. Okay, so if you have questions later, reserve that during our Google Meet, okay, video conference next time around. Okay, so without further ado, okay, let's begin with our discussion for today. Okay, so welcome to our first lesson in our module number 1. Our lesson for this week is entitled Information Systems in Perspective. Now we have to understand that nowadays we live in what we call an information economy. In the old days, they say weapons and weapons of mass destructions is the ultimate power. But now, in the advent, in the era of information technology, information is now the biggest economy in the world. You have to understand this, dear students, that information itself has a real value. And in order for companies to stay competitive, for organizations to stay ahead of the competition, they require a steady flow of information about their business partners, about their competitors, about their customers, about their employees, the markets within the community, and even their suppliers. So they have to have that grasp, because information now dictates the rise and fall of organizational empire. So you have to see it that way, no? That your program information system, where you are, is the best place that you can be, considering that information is the game changer now. Do you understand that? Information is now the biggest commodity next to oil. Okay, so that is what we're going through and towards the next century in our history. Okay, so we live in that economy now. Information systems are increasingly being used to gather data, to store, to digest, to analyze, and make a sense out of all this information. Now, information systems are playing a major role in the production, in the development of and processing of information. So information systems are even embedded in business processes. Information systems are even embedded and control many products that we see every day on a day-to-day basis. So information systems play a vital role in the movement of products, in the movement of services, right? In fact, if we look at this illustration, using information systems from our perspective, for example, as an individual, isn't it that we can now communicate instantaneously, right? Which means in the old days, for example, if you have parents who are working abroad, before the advent of internet, in the old days, you would write them letter, send letter to the post office. That letter will reach them, what, a month later? And then they will write the letter back to you, and you will receive that letter from them after a month or 2 months, right? But now, with technology, with information systems in place, communication becomes easy. Communication now is top of the line, right? So you can talk to your friends, you can, like what we're doing even now, we're doing online classes, and that's communicating instantaneously, right away. What else? Using information system, purchases are done online through web or mobile. Do you agree? Right? You can see a lot of online sellers now. We have Lazada, we have Shopee, right? And even in the Facebook arena, there are already online sellers there. Okay, so you can actually sell your products again instantaneously through web and mobile devices. Using information systems, project members are dispersed globally. In the old days, you need to go abroad to work on a project. But now, with technology, with information systems, you can even work on a project at the comforts of your home. You can work on a project any time of the day. You can work on your project anywhere, in a coffee shop, in a restaurant, in a fast food restaurant, even while on vacation, right? So you can work from anywhere nowadays. With information systems, multiple organizations can collaborate effectively. Okay, so it doesn't mean that because of the pandemic, businesses or business transactions will stop. It will not stop. It will in fact improve, because now a lot of business organizations are dependent on information systems for the business to thrive or to move forward. Using information systems is where financial institutions can manage billions of dollars in assets around the world. Right, so they can easily monitor how their assets are performing, especially with example for Sanmig Corporation or Ayala Land Corporation. They can actually monitor how their assets are moving around the Philippines, or even in the Southeast Asia region, or in the Asia Pacific region, in that matter, right? Using information systems, manufacturers partner with suppliers and customers to track goods faster than ever before. Now, logistically, you can now monitor your orders, right? The moment you click that order button, you can now monitor them, where they are. Are they still in the warehouse, or are they in the exchange warehouse, or are they in transit, right? So now, using information systems, you can track your goods faster than ever before. Okay, so these are just some of the things that information system is driving in the world of business. Information systems will continue to change businesses and the way we live. Yes or no? It is a big yes. Why? Because many corporate leaders now, take note of this, are using technology to rework every aspect of their organizations, from product to services, from product creation to product distribution, through delivery, or even in customer service. Information systems change the way we do business. Information systems change the way we communicate, and that is a good thing, right? So to prepare, what's in it for you, for example? Well, to prepare to participate in and lead these innovations, you, as an information systems student, learner, must be familiar with the fundamental information concepts. Why is that? Well, not because you're not because you are an IS student, you are required of this, but Take the case, for example, of your friend who is not an information system student, let's say a management student or an office admin student. You know what? Regardless of your college major or chosen career, knowledge of information system is indispensable in helping you land your first or even your future jobs. I will repeat that. Regardless of your college major or chosen career, knowledge of information systems is indispensable in helping you land your first or future jobs. So it's not a question of, am I in the right course or program? That's not the question anymore. The question now is, are you preparing to be on top of the game? Are you preparing yourself to be the leader in these innovations? Because let's face it, we cannot escape technology nowadays. Do you understand me? Okay, I hope I'm getting through some of your misconceptions that you have right now. Okay? Now, we will be talking, as I have said in our introduction earlier, we will be talking or discussing 5 topics. Okay? And the first one is on the introduction of information systems. Now, to be an effective manager, information systems manager, or in any area of business, you need to understand that information is one of the organization's most valuable resources. Did you get that? Information is one of your organization's most valuable resources. Why is that? Because, ladies and gentlemen, your ability as a manager to recognize and capitalize on information system opportunities can make you an even more valuable member of your organization and will ultimately help you advance in your career. Did you get that one? Okay? Again, this is very important. I need to repeat this for you. Your ability to recognize, to capitalize on information system opportunities can make you an even more valuable member. What are you going to bring on the table of your job interview? If you say you know how to use computers, well, everybody nowadays know how to use computer. Yes, of course. If you say I'm a graduate of a 4-year program, there are a lot of graduates of 4-year programs. Okay? But if you bring in with you, right? If the interview, for example, will be what can you offer in our organization? Okay, what can you bring with you in our organization? The moment you say, I have the ability to recognize, I have the ability to handle information system opportunities, then I will tell you, you have aced that interview. You have, given them something that no other applicants can bring with them on the table, right? The ability for you to recognize and capitalize on the opportunities that information systems can bring is a big plus factor for your career. Okay, so remember that. Now, in principle, we're going to talk about principle number 1. There are 7 principles in this discussion that I would like to present to you. First principle is about data and information. The value of information is directly linked to how it helps decision makers achieve the organization's goals. What does this statement means? It means that how information is processed, how important that information is directly related, is directly attached to how your managers will achieve the organization goals. Okay, so If this information is important in getting towards the goal, then that information is very valuable. Okay? Now, to give you an idea, let's break down again this principle of data and information. So what is data? On your slide, you can see data is simply consists of raw facts. What are raw facts? Well, I'll give you an example. Data can be an employee number. Data can be your student ID number. Your data can be your name. Data can be your address. Data can be the total of hours work for the week. Data can be inventory control number. A data can be a number of units produced on a production line. So basically, data are the things that you see around you, right? The name of your friend, the address of your house, your telephone number. These are data. You get that? Okay. What is information? Well, information is a collection of data. Okay, we get those data, we organize those data, and we process that so that it has what we call an additional value beyond the value of individual facts. Did you get that? You collect the data, you organize the data, you process the data so that it has an added value. Okay? How important is a student name, for example? Well, it's just a student name, right? How important is a student ID number? How important is student course year and section? How is important is a student subject? Well, they're just data, right? But if I get the student ID number, I get your name, I get your course year and section, then I'll get your subjects or courses on a specific semester, put them together, right? And then give it to you as the subjects that you will take for this semester. Does that mean that what I gave you are not data but rather information? Yes, it is. That is the information. Those are the collection of data that I organized, that I processed, and now I'm giving it to you as your schedule for the second semester. That is now information. Am I making sense? Okay. Information, you have to understand also that information is not the same thing as data. Knowledge is different from data and information. How come? Again, let's hammer down the idea. Data, what is data? It is a set of variables that you collect that can help you construct outcomes. That's data. Okay? Another characteristic of your data is that it is freestanding, right? It is not dependent on any other concept, but rather they are just freestanding. They're free floating. Okay, that's data. Information, on the other hand, will address the requirements of the user. Example, I give you the example earlier of your schedule for second sem. You as the user, your requirement is for you to get the subjects that you need to take for the second semester and the schedules that you need for your subjects. That is the requirements. How can I give you that? I will have to get the data, right, and process them and make that as information so that you can use that for your enrollment. Am I making sense? Right. So as we have stated, information cannot exist without the building block called data. Correct. Now, knowledge, on the other hand, connotes the confident, theoretical, or practical understanding of an entity along with the capability of using it for a specific purpose. Quite wordy there, right? Okay, let's rephrase that. Knowledge. Okay, what is knowledge then? It is a combination of the information. It's a combination of your experience. It's a combination of your intuition that has a potential to draw inferences. Okay? Has the potential for you to develop your insights. Okay? For example, uh, what's your knowledge on the concept of information system? Well, it's the data that I'm giving you, and you're processing it right now. Okay? And then probably you will experience how to make a system, an information system along the way. Then if you have processed this information, experience how to do this, then I would say you have gained knowledge, right? Because it's a combination of information, of experience, of intuitions that can draw or help you draw insights, okay, based on your experience. So that is knowledge. Okay? So information is processed data. Data is the raw raw context. Okay? These are variables that will help you create the outcome. Okay? For example, for me to come up with your schedule for the second sem, do I need to know your parents' names? Parents' names are data, right? But do I need parents' names for me to come up with your schedule for the second sem? What time do you sleep? That is a data. Do I need that? The time of your sleep in order for me to come up with your schedule for the second sem? Right? So, data, again, as I've said, are set of variables that help you in creating the outcomes. So, there are data that you don't need at all. Okay? So, you only use data that you can integrate for you to create an information, so that that information can be attributed to the creation of your knowledge. Clear? All right. So anyway, if you don't understand, you can always replay this video, okay? Now, there are some traditional data sets that we have been used to discuss, okay? What are these traditional data sets? There are four actually traditional data sets. We have the alphanumeric data, which is composed of your numbers, your letters, and your other characters. That's why it's called alphanumeric. Alpha means letters, numeric means numbers. Alphanumeric is the combination of numbers and letters. Okay. Then we have audio data. These are the sounds, the noises, the tones that you hear. Are they data? Yes, they are data. Then there's the image data. These are graphic images, these are pictures, still images that you can also use as part of the data. Then of course, there's the video data. These are your moving images, these are moving pictures. So take note, what's the difference between an image data and a video data? Image data are basically still images, while video are moving images. Okay? That is your traditional data sets. Okay? But now, in the new context of information systems, because of the evolution of information systems, new ideas about data has been presented. Now, this is the first time I'm going to be showing this to you. You're the first set of students that will be encountering, right? Someday when they ask you how many types of data, you can say there are 4 traditional data, right? But now there are 13 types of data. And what are these? Ready? Here we go. The first one is what we call big data. I guess a lot of you have heard of big data, right? What is the definition of big data? This is the amount of data that will not practically fit into your standard relational database for analysis and processing. Okay, so this will not be your common data. Usually, the data that we have in a database probably will be enough only for uh, simple processing. Like for example, I would like to generate the list of all retirees since 1990 to 2020. Is that big data? Well, in a sense, between 1990 to 2020, that is the source of data that you have, but you can still keep that. SSS is doing that, right? So it's not really that much of a big data, but when we talk about big data, these are the huge volumes of information that is being created by human and machine generated processes. Okay? So these are the data that, example of big data is the data of traffic that Facebook users all over the world are doing every day. Again, there are a lot of data that these users are using. Remember that. There's the image. They're posting pictures. They're posting statuses, words. They're posting videos. They're posting music, right? And a combination of this. So you could imagine, this is the context of what big data is. The huge volume of information that we generate. Isa lang na, in just one social media, for example, in Facebook alone. That is big data. Then we have the polymorph data. What is a polymorph data? These are structured, these are unstructured, these are semi-structured data. That is, for example, some customers have a social media profile that you can track and some don't. Now, how different is this from big data? Now, look at the description. These are structured, these are unstructured, or semi-structured data. Okay, that's the first clue there of a polymorph data. And in a polymorph data, not all the data are tracked. Okay, sometimes you just get the profiles, sometimes you just get the history, right? But big data encompasses the polymorph. Basically, your polymorph data can be extracted from your big data. Polymorph data are more flexible alternative to relational database with the sole purpose or reason to accommodate data of any structure. That's why it's called polymorphed data, because poly means multiple, morph means structure, changes. Polymorph means multiple changing of data. Again, look at this, the definition. They could be structured, they can morph to become unstructured, they can morph to become semi-structured. Get it? Alright. Then we have timestamp data. What is a timestamp data? This is a data set which has a concept of time ordering, defining the sequence that each data point was either captured, that's your event time, or collected, meaning how the process time when it was processed as a data. This type of data is typically used when collecting behavioral data, for example, user actions on websites. So for example, if you want to know the traffic of your website, you need timestamp data. What specific time of the day, what specific time of a week is your traffic heavy, okay, in your website? At what specific time are students accessing your website? At what specific time? So basically, one of the data that this timestamp data is being utilized is also in Netflix, right? They can actually determine what kind of movies are people watching on a specific time, what kind of movie people are watching on a weekend, on a holiday, what kind of holiday. So all of this is part of the timestamp data that they collect. You get the picture. Okay, that's the first three. Then we have spatio-temporal data. What a term. Spatio-temporal data. This kind of data describes both the location, spatial, and the time, temporal. Hence the name spatio-temporal. Location and time for the same event that can show how a phenomena in a physical location change over time. Okay? To give you an idea, spatiotemporal data includes tracking movements of vehicles. That's your GPS. Okay? So, can I collect information on the traffic of Bacolod at 10 in the morning? Yes, I can do that by collecting spatiotemporal data. Okay? How many vehicles are traveling Lacson Street in a specific time on a specific day? Okay? So, tracking of movement of vehicles. Then, spatiotemporal data can also describe the change in population over time. So, for example, are people from Banago area increasing in number, or are they decreasing in number? People living in Mambulok, for example, okay, are they relocating over time, or are they adding to their population? So there's that change over time. Or you can use spatio-temporal data to identify anomalies in telecommunications networks. Okay? At what time and day are signals very good? At what time and day of the week do we intend to lose signals? Again, spatio-temporal data. Am I making sense? All right, I hope so. Okay. Then another kind of data is what we call open data. Open data is a kind of data that is freely available to anyone in terms of its use. Now, you have to understand that these data are already collected, okay, and they are being stored with the purpose of applying analytics to this kind of data. And this kind of data, where the rights to republish without restrictions from copyrights, patents, or other mechanisms of control are welcome. So it's open. This kind of data can be used to create opportunities for wealth creation and innovation. That's why Facebook, for example, in the US, Facebook is getting a lot of legal attention, right? Because a lot of legal experts say that Facebook monopolizes the collection of data, and they use that data for their organizational advancement, or sometimes they may be able to sell that data. Okay, that's why it's very important in the apps that you download. They're putting instructions there, or mechanisms that tell you that this app collects your location, this app collects your number, this app collects your images. Why? Because a lot of, for example, in Facebook, since they are the ones collecting the data, they will be able to use that data to determine what you like, what you click, what you post, what you watch, what you read. Okay? And that is not open data because they're the ones collecting the data. So open data, on the other hand, are used for open sources. Okay? The second definition there, that data can be used to create opportunities. If it's not an open data, then it's a proprietary data, like what Facebook is doing now. So the data that they collect are simply used by themselves for their own personal advancement of the business. Okay, that's what the legal issues are going into now. So collecting data or information. Okay? Then we have dark data. This is a digital information that is not being used and lies dormant in some form. Okay? Basically, your dark data is the exact opposite of your open data, but it's even worse because this data are not being utilized. Information assets that an organization collects, processes, and store in the course of its regular business activity, but generally fails to use for other purposes. Now, there are a lot of companies. Okay, for example, again, let's talk about Facebook. There are so many information, there are so many data that we give out on Facebook, okay, that Facebook may not be able to fully use them, okay. Facebook will not fully use them in generating new opportunities. But they have already collected those data from us. Okay? What happens to this data? Well, they are being processed, they are being segregated, they are being stored. That's what Facebook do. But unfortunately, they are not using those kinds of data. They're just stored there for future use. That is what dark data is. You get the picture? Okay. Then we have genomics data. What is genomics data? Genome. Okay. This data involves in analyzing the DNA of patients to identify new drugs and improve care with personalized treatments. A good example of the genomic data is, of course, the data that we are giving out to manufacturers of vaccines, right, for COVID. So there are a lot of data now. That's why in the news, you can actually see that they're testing it to this group of people. They are testing it to specific sets of people, and then they are trying to determine what are the side effects, right? They are actually getting data from that perspective, and these are considered genomics data. Genomics data requires significant data processing and needs to be blended with data from hundreds of thousands of patients to generate insights. Okay, so for example, the vaccine from UK, AstraZeneca, for example, or from the US, Pfizer. Is that Pfizer? Vaccines. They are very specific. For example, in a Pfizer vaccine, if you have food allergies or any kind of allergies, you will not be administered with this vaccine. While AstraZeneca doesn't care whether you have allergies or not, right? So these are based on the data that they have gathered, okay, the genomics data that they have gathered, so that they can come up with solutions or conclusions based on their studies. Genomics data. Okay? Then we have operational data. This data is produced by your organization's day-to-day operations. That's why it's called operational data. Sales, orders, receipts, inventory data at the end of the day, right? These are data that is turned into business insights that decision makers and non-technical teams can use. Okay, operational data. Usually, these kind of data are very prevalent or existing in business operations or business organizations. Okay. Then we have high-dimensional data. These are data being popularized in relation to facial recognition technologies. Okay, these are the ones that are being utilized now for facial recognition technology in your phones, in our non-contact, for example, non-contact interaction. Okay, new expressions of data that are multifaceted enough to be able to handle computations, that are capable of describing all the nuances and individualities that exist across our facial physiognomies. High-dimensional data, in addition, are high volume. They can be considered actually big data in its essence. But specifically, it's only the data that is being used for facial recognition, right? Because let's face it, our face alone is capable of generating so much data, right? That for people to understand, for people studying facial recognition techniques, they need to understand how each of the expressions of a human face can fit in the study of physiognomies, as the term might suggest. Okay, so that's your high dimensional data. Then we have machine data. This is the digital exhaust created by systems, created by technologies, created by infrastructure that is powering the modern businesses. Okay, so machine data is argued to be able to help organizations troubleshoot problems, identify threats, and use machine learning to help predict future issues. So machine data is now being utilized in consonance or in relation to machine learning. Okay, they are particularly used for teaching the machines how to think. Okay, these are the data that is being collected from all electronic or digital systems, and then they are stored, and then they are recycled to be used for machine learning. Okay, for machines to learn how to decide for themselves. So that's why it's called machine data. Then we have real-time data. This refers to your instantaneous computing that happens about as fast as a human can perceive. Now, real-time data, in the essence, or in its term itself, real-time means actual time, as it happens. The real-time data provides a better link between your consumers and brands, allowing the most relevant offers to be delivered at a precise moment based upon location and preferences. Okay, so for example, I want to know how much sales do we have for ice cream. For example, do you know that Magnolia ice creams have been pulled out from Negros? You didn't notice that, right? Well, I noticed that because I love ice cream. Okay, they've been pulled out. I have no concrete evidence as to why, but they say one, logistics is an issue, meaning the movement of ice cream within Negros has been affected by the pandemic. So they have to get the supply from, we don't have a manufacturing company of Magnolia ice cream, they say here in Negros. So they have to get ice cream from Cebu, for example, right? So they pulled it out because they don't have enough logistics to keep the supply moving. So real time, they're running out of supply and they cannot resupply as fast as they can. So based on that data, as they say, is what I have heard from, they had to pull out Magnolia ice cream from Negros. Too bad, I like Magnolia ice cream. So anyway, real-time data. Another kind of data, real-time data, for example, is probably determining the movement of, for example, pork. Alright, for example, Negros would probably be stopping sending pork products to Luzon so that Negros in itself can stabilize the supply of pork. Okay, so that is also an issue. So real-time data, they can make better decisions, better preferences as soon as the data arrives. That's another kind of data. Then we have unverified, outdated data. This is the extreme of dark data. Remember the dark data? Data that are processed, they are stored, they are kept, but they are not being used. What happens if they will never be used to that extent? Well, these are the data that has been collected, but nobody has an idea whether that data is relevant or accurate or even of the right type. Can you imagine that you just collected the data and yet you don't know where that data will be used? Okay, so that's gonna be a problem. Okay, because now the saying goes, garbage in, garbage out will still hold. Okay, why? Because any data you collected and did not verify and did not use, okay, will be just that, garbage. Alright? So you might ask, sir, is dark data unverified, outdated data? There is a possibility, because on the other hand, the data in your dark data can still be utilized for future information needs. You get the point? So they remain dark for now because they probably haven't seen the use of that data yet. But in the future, they can use those data and they will be moving out of the dark data. But the sad thing is if that data will remain in there and will never be verified and it will become outdated, then it becomes a garbage data, right? Other term for unverified outdated data is what we call garbage data. Okay. And then we have translytic data. Translytic data is an amalgam. Okay, it's a combination. It's a mix of trans, and analytic, right? Translytic data is argued to demand real-time processing and reporting with new metrics not previously available at the point of action. Okay. Translytic data are usually data used for intelligent targeting, curated recommendations, alternative diagnosis, and instant fraud detection. Translytic data are data that are being processed during transactions and then they are analyzed. Your credit card, for example, or your ATM card, the data that is used there or the data that they can get from there are what we call translytic data. You swipe, right, and that data is being checked in the database, the system. So you are actually now, look at this, guys. There are several data now that you are getting here. You're getting a machine data, right, because of the swipe of the result that the credit card swiping machine is using. It generates that machine data. What else? You generate real-time data because that is the time when you swipe the card means you made a transaction, right? And at the same time, there's translytic data now. Okay, a transaction has been detected and it is now analyzing whether that credit card has been stolen or not, whether that card is legal or legit or not, right? You get the picture? Now you see a lot of data coming through. Okay, so those are your kind of data. So again, the value of information created depends on the relationships defined among existing data. What does it mean? It means that the value of information, okay, how your information is evaluated, how valuable that information depends on those relationships that you define among those existing data. And how is that? How do you define the value of information? Through processing. Okay. Turning data into information is a process that you perform to achieve a defined outcome. You might ask, sir, what is a process? A process is a set of logically related tasks. Okay, logically, tasks. So, for example, dressing up in the morning when you go to school, for example, you follow a process, right? It's a logical process. Example, you don't wear your pants and then you wear your underwear, right? That's not logical, right? You wear, it's, only superheroes do that. Okay, they have their underwears outside their pants. Batman do that, Superman do that. That's just an old silly joke. But the thing is, logical process or process are logical steps. Okay, related tasks. Example, you don't put shampoo on your hair without wetting your hair first, right? So you need to wet your hair first and you apply shampoo. And after you apply shampoo, you apply conditioner, right? So you don't do it reverse. Conditioner, then you put shampoo, and then you wash your hair with water. Okay? So that's not how it works. Okay, so it's a logical task. So the process of defining relationship among data to create useful information requires knowledge. Again, going back to our definition of knowledge. Okay? Knowledge, these are your facts, these are your information, these are your skills that you acquired through experience or education. That's knowledge. Whether it's theoretical or practical understanding of a subject matter. Okay, so that becomes now your knowledge. So again, to give you an idea, what is knowledge? It's basically an awareness of understanding a set of information. You get this information, right? Then, what do you do with information? The ways in which that information can be made useful to support a specific task or to reach a decision. That is knowledge. Okay? So, in other words, information is essentially the data made more useful through the application of knowledge. Get that? Okay? Information is data made more useful through the application of knowledge. So, how do you transform data into information? How is data processed? Well, if you look at the image on your left of your screen, what do you do first is that you select the data, right? You gather data, take the data, select, data gathering. Then what do you do? Then you organize that data. Put that data on a table, for example, segregate them, right? And then lump them together. Related data goes with the related data go with another related data, and vice versa. Okay? Then after you have organized that data, now you manipulate the data. Okay? So that data becomes your information. Okay, let me go back again. Give you an example. How do I transform the data? What I need, for example, I need to create your subject needs for this semester. Okay. So what data do I need? I need your ID number. Yes or no? Yes. I need your name. Yes. I need your course year and section. Yes. I need your telephone number. Well, probably yes, because at the end of this, I might be contacting you, or I will be calling you if I have questions. So, telephone number is important. Do I need your address? In this requirement, I don't think I'll be needing your address, right? So, I'll segregate the data. So, I collect the data. Then, what do? I group the data. Okay? I organize it. Who are in BSIS 1? Who are in BSIS 2? Who are in BSIS 3? And who are in BSIS 4? I group them. Going to BSIS 1, who are in section A? Who are in section B? Who are in section C? So now I'm trying to organize that. Okay? Then, what do? I collect your subjects. Okay? Then I segregate what subjects did you pass, what subjects did you fail. Okay? And once I have those data, right, what do now? I now manipulate them. You pass this, you pass. You will be going to the next stage, so I'll be giving you this subject. Now, what am I doing? I am manipulating based on the data that I have. You get the picture? Okay, I'm assuming you're getting the picture. That is how data is being transformed into information. The outcome of that is a list of all your subjects that you need to take for the second sem. Now I know what kind of subjects I will offer for you to take on the second sem. That is information. Good? All right. Valuable information can help people perform tasks more efficiently and effectively. Do you agree? Yes, of course. You cannot be more efficient, you cannot be effective if you don't have a valuable information at hand. Okay? Uh, Example, how can I give you the right subjects that you need for the second sem if I don't have the correct information? Definitely, I can't if I don't have that. So, again, going back, the value of information is only as good as how you have processed that information. Okay? So, what are the characteristics of a quality information? What are? So there are 11 characteristics of a quality information. But before I go there, you have to understand that the importance of each of these characteristics varies. What do I mean? It means that they don't have to be all 11 of them on the information that you will generate. Okay? Probably 3 of them, 4 of them are there or required for you to come up with the information. Doesn't mean that all of them, at least one, right? If there is not, if in the result of that information and none of these 11 are found, none of these characteristics are found in there, then I could say that the information you created is not of good quality. You get me? Okay? So the importance of these characteristics varies. Okay? The exact details and timing, for example, the accessibility, the accuracy, for example, is important depending on the need of the information that you will generate. Okay, so what are these characteristics? Let's go to there, or let's go there. Okay, first characteristic is that this information should be accessible. Information should be easily accessible by authorized users so they can obtain it in the right format at the right time to meet their needs. Accessibility. Okay, if I can get that information right away, then probably I have a quality information. Accurate. Accurate information is error-free. In some cases, inaccurate information is generated because inaccurate data is fed into the transformation process. This is commonly called garbage in, garbage out. Okay, so that's why we need to double check our information. We need to double check or sometimes triple check to make sure that it is free of errors. Okay? Then information should be complete. Complete information contains all the important facts. For example, an investment report that does not include all important costs is not complete. How can you invest on something that you do not know what you're gonna spend your money on? You get me? So your information, for me to decide, is that that information should be complete. Economical. These are information that should also be relatively economical to produce. Decision makers must always balance the value of information with the cost of producing it. Okay, so if we get to spend more in the generation of this information, then I don't think it's economical. Okay, but what if we can find a way that we can generate this information at the lowest cost possible? Then that becomes economical. Okay, then flexible. Flexible information can be used for a variety of purposes on how much inventory is on hand for a particular part, or it can be used by the sales representative in closing a sale. So it has to be flexible. There has to be room for adjustment. Guys, when you create an information, always, as I always say this, when you generate information, always have plan B, C, D, E, right? There are 26 letters in our alphabet. Make use of that. That is what flexibility is all about. Then we have relevant. Okay, what is relevant? Relevant information is important to the decision maker. information showing that lumber prices might drop is probably not relevant to a computer chip manufacturer, right? So they should be interconnected. For example, the price of gold might have an effect in the production of computer chips, right? Because there are some gold components there. The price of copper, for example, might have an effect on the production of soldering coppers for computer use. So relevance is very important. Your address for me to generate your subject needs for the second sem, I don't think that's relevant. Am I making sense? Right? I hope. Reliable. Reliable information can be trusted by users in many cases. The reliability of information depends on the reliability of the data that you collected. You get this? Your information is only as good as the data you collected. That's what reliability is. In other instances, reliability depends on the source of information. Okay, so if you only heard it from somebody else without any confirmation or without actual fact, then the data that you collected might not be accurate. That's why chismis, for example, is never considered part of a reliable data set. Okay? So another form of unreliability are rumors, I have said. No? Because rumors can come from an unknown source. Okay? If you say there are rumors going around that they will be requiring a full face mask, that just remains a rumor. Another characteristic of quality information is secure. Information should be secure from access by unauthorized users. That's very important. Security of information should be one of the strengths of a quality information. Then, last three, simplicity. Okay? Information should be simple and not complex. Sophisticated and detailed information might not be needed. Okay, so as simple as you can actually transform data into an information. Do not provide your users with information overload. Okay? Again, if you have so much information, some of this might be turned into what? Dark data, right? Some of this information might be turned into unuseful data, garbage data. Right? So whereby your decision maker has too much information, it is unable to determine what is really important. So try to simplify. If they want apple, just give them apple. Don't make an apple pie out of it. Okay? So it's the simplicity of that information. Am I making sense? Okay. Timely. Timely information is delivered when it is needed. Okay? Knowing last week's weather conditions will not help when you're trying to decide what coat to wear today. That's an old news. Old news are simply like that, old news. You cannot use that anymore. So what do you need? You need, again, what kind of data for you to come up with quality information? Real-time data for you to come up with timely information. Okay? And lastly, verifiable. Information or quality information should be verifiable. It means that you can check and counter-check that kind of information to make sure that it is correct. Perhaps by checking many sources of the same information. Okay? So you just don't say, I'll get one of this and that is already accurate. No, you have to verify. You have to make sure that the data, the information that you generated is verifiable. How do you do that? keep a record of all your information. Okay? So that, ladies and gentlemen, are the characteristics of your quality information. Okay. The importance of each of these characteristics, let me summarize that, okay? There are 11 characteristics. But the importance of each of these characteristics varies depending on the situation and the kind of decision that you are trying to make. Again, as I have said earlier, doesn't mean that you need all of these 11 characteristics in the decision or the situation that you want to make. It all depends on the situation. Okay? So it doesn't mean that you have to make sure ang baldi sir kinanglan ara gid ang 11. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying is at least one or more of these characteristics should be present in your generated information, and I could probably tell you that you're making a quality information. Okay? The value of information is directly linked to how it helps people achieve their organization's goals. This is where we started at the beginning of this discussion, how important or how valuable information is. Again, I would like to reiterate this to you. The value of information is directly linked to how it can help your management achieve your goals. Okay? All right. So we'll end there for now. Let's take a break. All right. So we'll stop there for a while. We've been talking for a little bit longer than expected. And I know that you might be tired of listening to our discussion. So let's take a breather. Okay? Give yourself a break. Then we will come back for the second part of our video discussion. Okay? All right. So stand up, move around, get something to eat or drink, then come back for the second part of our discussion. Okay? All right.